Okay, Aaron, you remember what day it is, right?
No.
Aaron, we're supposed to talk about the show.
What show? Is it RetroCon already?
No. We're supposed to talk about Cinema Insomnia, and believe it or not, we're entering our 25th year.
Cinema Insomnia can now rent a car on its own.
That's right. Cinema Insomnia can now rent a car, but it shouldn't drive it, honestly.
Well, that's what we have Miss Mittens for.
Yes, the Toonces of Cinema Insomnia.
First house plant to get a DUI.
Yeah, that's why pretty soon she'll be riding a bike to the studio. Probably a good idea. We could dig out some of the old tapes.
Yeah.
Right? You have a few treasures, a few things that you've been trying to find.
Yeah.
And we could talk about the whole weird way of how you got involved with this mess.
Oh, yeah.
If Paul were here, what would he say? And 3 and 2 and 1.
You're not dreaming. You're watching Cinema Insomnia.
It's time now for the show to begin. Thank you. Have a very pleasant evening.
We are the survivors of a disintegrated solar system.
Tell this to everybody wherever they are. Watch the skies.
You're not dreaming. You're listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast. I'm Mr. Lobo, and I'm here with the... there's so many things you are, Aaron. You're the I feel like the archivist. You're the producer. You're the director. You're the editor.
Vincent Van Dahl called me a ninja.
The ninja. You're the what is it? The maestro of mayhem.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Grandmaster of Madness.
Grandmaster of Madness. Yes, Grandmaster of Madness.
I believe in one of Jessica's movies, I am credited as Jedi Knight and friend to Captain Solo.
And this is why Paul doesn't want to be here today. So we're setting Aaron loose here, and we're going to dive deep into the 24th birthday of Cinema Insomnia. And I think people think Aaron's always been here.
Yeah. And we accidentally said that on a panel that's on OSI, so that's part of it, too.
I think I jumbled 2010 and 2001. Maybe.
Yeah, well, and we were talking about both and kind of going back and forth. Oh, how long ago did that happen?
I think that just happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and we were all exhausted, and I was joking around with Sleazy off to the side on this panel, half listening. He and I not knowing our mics were on, and we're like making fun of the audience, not realizing they could hear us.
Yeah.
And I know you were talking about, I think, like the podcast with Paul.
And I might have been trying to ignore you guys while I was talking.
Probably.
Because it was kind of distracting.
Yeah, which is so funny because I didn't know that till after the panel. Like that's why people were getting up and leaving. But yeah, there's a point that I think you maybe started to talk about the syndication and OSI.
Yeah.
When you were talking about OSI, I think you said Aaron's been here since the beginning.
Yeah.
But you had just been talking about KXTV, so people thought that I was there from the start.
Yeah. But you probably know as much or more about that era than almost anybody. I mean, maybe if we had like Alyssa here or somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody who was actually there in the station.
Why didn't we think of that?
Or
just have her like Skype in or something. She would love that.
She would love that. She'd have so much dirt on everybody. But and then of course we had Mike, who was the director, and then Todd was the director for a while. We didn't have a lot of directors who would stay for a long time. We had different people directing episodes. Ken had a nice long run, but by long run it might have been 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So Aaron's definitely been involved other than me and Miss Mittens. Aaron has definitely been involved with Cinema Insomnia the longest. And you're from Sacramento, and we had all the same friends somehow.
Yeah. We were both involved in different ways with the Trash Film Orgy, but never really interacted with each other.
It's weird that we didn't bump into each other sooner. It's odd because there's an episode, I think it's Horror Party Beach, which was before Aaron's tenure, where he's
But I'm in the
he's in the
episode.
episode just at the party.
Yeah, and I didn't even know you. Like, I did not remember anything was being filmed there, but I saw myself in the footage when we were putting it together for a restoration. And then I think when we started working on the syndicated ones, the first time I went over to Larry's, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the TFO house, right? Because
Yeah.
I'd been to parties there.
Yeah. So it started at KXTV, which was, I think, the number 2 station in the region. They had an overnight movie that ran 25 minutes short.
They had a weather tower.
They had a weather tower. They were the news station, so they didn't really care about anything else. And so they did their newscast was 5 minutes longer than everybody else's.
Oh, wow.
And so they had a 25-minute balance that they had to make up for in the middle of the night.
Is that why the show started at 3:05 a.m.?
Yeah.
funny.
That's why the show started at 3:05 is because everything else got ruined for the rest of the night, so that they could be the news station and have a bigger show than everybody else.
And we might as well just put Lobo on and call it a hat trick. Everything's ruined anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So
Vote of confidence there.
So I mean, honestly, it was an opportunity because they had this weird 25-minute deficit that they needed to make up for in the middle of the night.
Well, I'm now remembering there was one episode before KXTV. The Ants.
Oh yeah. Well, and we shot that at KXTV.
Okay.
Mike worked there.
Yeah.
Mike Strange worked there in the production engineering department. I did not work there yet. And he invited me in there on a weekend to record a pilot, and that was for the movie Ants.
Yeah.
And at that time, they had horror and sci-fi movies in their library.
Oh, yeah.
And so we had planned on doing Insomniac Theater. Insomniac Theater was the original title. And we were planning on doing it then, and this was maybe 95 or earlier.
Yeah, it was a ways before Cinema Insomnia.
And it was, I think it might have even been as much as 8 years before.
Yeah, and there's a couple glimpses of that. Was it the VHS special has a look at it?
A very VHS special has
Yeah.
some clips of that. And I used to be just deathly embarrassed of that.
Yeah,
footage.
I know that's the only one you never let me restore because I
Yeah.
joked about putting it on the
Yeah.
Roku, and you're like, absolutely not.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, the KXTV episodes, which we're building
Yeah.
up to here, Aaron pretty much restored them and reintroduced them into the rotation because most of them had not been seen since they aired in 2001.
Yeah, there were only a few that I think got reworked. Like I think The Terror might have been.
The Terror, like some of the better titles,
Yeah.
like The Terror, and I think they maybe. Well, maybe not. They maybe a Criminal ran in public access era.
Yeah.
And then
it got lost at some point.
And then there was, I would say, also, My Favorite Brunette was in there. I think Seventh Seal was in the public access era.
Oh, yeah. And that one was still in rotation mostly the whole time.
Yeah. So there were a handful.
But most of them had been lost to the ages, and then we were just going through tapes. We were supposed to be filming episodes the first time I flew out, and we didn't have anything ready.
Yeah.
And so I had like a digitizer with me, and I started just going through old tape series and digitizing, and found like the masters with all the host segments for like every KXTV episode.
With the exception of just a couple, right?
Well, I think I had all the
Okay.
tapes, and then we misplaced Casablanca Express,
God.
and we never, to this day, we haven't found it yet.
Oh God, that's infuriating.
And I think there might have been. I think there was one other where you were just like, yeah, don't even transfer that one.
Oh yeah, that was.
Was that
Hold on.
like leeches or?
Well, that wasn't
that a later
KXTV, that was a
episode?
later
Okay.
one, but that was a not bother one either.
Or was that Visitor?
Captured, I think is what it was
Captured.
called.
There we go. Yeah, that's the one. That,
I think there's only 3 segments,
Yeah.
something like that, because
you said the movie is really rough too, right?
Yeah, it's like a rich guy torturing a car thief in
Yeah.
his garage. And it's like, I don't need this movie.
Yeah.
But the other part of it that I didn't like, besides that it's a rich guy torturing a car thief in his garage, like I said, I think there's only 3 segments.
Yeah.
Because at that
there was
point,
only a couple. I remember.
At that point, we were so successful
Yeah.
that we were getting less and less time.
Yeah, because they're selling the ad
They're
space.
selling the ad space. When
Yeah.
we started, it was hash marks. It was
Yeah.
unsaleable. The only thing that ran in that time slot were promos and make goods which is like when they should have ran an ad at a different time but didn't. So they just gave them a freebie in the middle of the night, and then promos, and then what was the other thing? Promos and make goods and PSAs.
Oh yeah.
PSAs. You know, whatever. Don't waste electricity. You know, any of that kind of stuff.
All disabled people can walk.
Exactly, those sorts of PSAs. So, you know, again, initially, this was 8 years after we made the pilot of Insomniac Theater.
And that was a totally different Mr. Lobo look.
Totally different. I had a pipe, which I could barely keep in my mouth.
Turning green.
Yeah, and it wasn't lit.
Yeah.
Just the flavor of the tobacco was enough to make me sick.
Smoking jacket, I think.
Smoking jacket. Yeah, everyone has that brilliant idea of an ascot and a smoking jacket and a pipe, right? And so that was the initial idea, and it sucked. It wasn't very good.
Well, I know that was one of those things where when I found the tape and started watching it, I was like, oh my God, I kind of think fans would love this because it's awful.
Yeah.
It's like finding your old yearbook photos that are embarrassing.
Yeah, it is definitely a lot of that. And I did no facial hair.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyhow, but the basically what happened is like I said before, they had this long gap in the middle of the night.
You almost looked more like Dylan than.
And oh yeah,
because I remember when we were watching that, we were just like, we could have Dylan play young Lobo.
Oh God. That would be incredible. 6.5 minute breaks they had. 6.5 minute commercial breaks. And I basically said, have you ever sat through a 6.5 minute commercial break? You know, let us fill this time with something. Yeah. And at that point, they had already gotten rid of all those, you know, like the ants and Island of Lost Souls, which is another episode I had written. All the stuff that I had written material for was gone.
Oh, wow.
And so basically they had an overnight movie already, and my pitch was just to host the overnight movie.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to choose what movies were being shown. I just hosted whatever the movie was.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that on the fan group. I was explaining that to somebody the other day because they were just like, well, why are you hosting stuff like Royal Wedding?
But I have to say I liked hosting Royal Wedding. I mean, to be able to address and parody like the dancing up the ceiling and all of that stuff. There's so many, like pop culturally, there was so much to do. Same with Seventh Seal.
Yeah.
It was like there's so much like Bill and Ted and so many things and Monty Python that referenced that.
Horse and Milkin.
So, well, that was the birth of Horse and Milkin. So, you know, I feel like even though a lot of fans don't like the non-genre episodes, I felt like it made us work harder.
Yeah.
Like we were doing stuff that other
bringing you people some culture.
Yeah, exactly, and doing stuff that maybe other hosts wouldn't do.
Yeah,
and, you know, we got to sort of work in somewhat virgin territory.
Yeah, and I feel like we still kind of do that later on too.
Yeah.
Like no other horror host showing Super Wheels.
No, no other horror host would show Super Wheels, and it is a thing that really I think separates Cinema Insomnia from a lot of those other shows because I think it's the triple threat, right? It's not always horror, it's not always sci-fi, and it's not always that derisive to the movie.
Yeah, it is more reverential.
More reverent to the films.
And we've had several filmmakers that have given us their movies because of that.
Yeah, I mean, we also show independent films, which I think a lot of I would say hosted movie shows, especially ones that have a lot of comedy, don't have really great relationships with the filmmakers. And whereas we
famously, like getting punched by the star of the. I won't call out which one that is. But it's
or
pretty
you know,
famous.
like I know that the last season of a certain show, there were certain movies that they wanted to get. Yeah. Where the directors are like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Even if you pay us, we won't let you host the movie.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we've had several people, I mean, obviously, you know, we've shown Lee's.
Lee DeMar about Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter.
Vampire Hunter. I don't know of any other show that's shown that.
There's one other, and they did it after us. Just because I saw him post about it when he was encouraging
And
people.
then I would say Rick Sloan was really interesting because we did the Visitants, and when we were finished with that, he said, "This is the only time anything I've ever made has been presented without cruel, snarky
and I know he wants
commentary."
us to redo Hobgoblins, but we have a couple other of his films that
we do,
that are
and
less
we are
appreciated
getting
than we
a
wanna
little
do
ahead
first.
of ourselves. So
Yeah.
we probably should break here and come back to that when we get there.
Yeah.
But the KXTV era was, I think, a really, I feel like we cut our teeth on the whole concept. I knew that Mr. Lobo. We're talking about the other version of me with the smoking jacket.
Yeah.
I knew that didn't work.
Yeah. Well, and if you revisit the KXTV ones, that Mr. Lobo is still pretty different than the later ones.
It is, because sometimes when we show those episodes, people are like, "Are you okay, Mr. Lobo? Did you have a stroke?" It's like, no, I'm okay. It's just in those earlier ones, I think I had a more, I would say, stoic kind of presentation, and perhaps slower delivery, and I hadn't quite found the character yet, 100%. Although I feel like a lot of the same things are there. Miss Mittens was there.
Yeah.
The blue cards, a lot of the things are the same. The rocking chair, the suit, the black void, the blue light. A lot of those things stayed, but I feel like the humor got more layered, and I think the character got looser for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're almost ready for a break. So, but the KXTV era was great. We were in trouble all the time, and we will talk about a little bit about that trouble and how we got kicked off at KXTV when we come back with more Sleepless Nights of Insomnia. If you're seeing me right now, do not adjust your televisor. It's probably because your future horror host with a great hat is doing their least ambitious episode ever. I can't host a movie. Not on a day like today. You gotta fight Klingons, and reprogram computers, and talk to plants, travel through the multiverses. As I mentioned before the break, and we're back, by the way, with more Sleepless Nights of Insomnia. I'm, of course, I'm Aaron Lane, and
I'm Mr. Lobo.
That's right. But Aaron, of course, was not there, but he, again, lived in the area, was aware of the show. KXTV, we weren't really allowed to have a lot of strangers in the studio, which is why I did a lot of talking to a plant. And you see people get cut off from the neck down, which became a running joke later, where we would have characters appear that you don't see their face. I think we carried that over sometimes. And I think that the other thing is they would say things like, we would do kind of this sort of satirical humor, and it'd be like, you're assuming the audience is smart. And I always said, isn't that better than assuming they're dumb? I always felt like if there was a lowest common denominator, then maybe there's a highest common denominator somewhere.
Frasier.
Yeah, exactly. And so they didn't like that answer, but the ratings were good on the show. We had
to beat hash marks.
Yeah, we definitely brought it up from hash marks to 22,000 homes watching at 3 a.m. And so they were confused by it. They didn't like the humor. They didn't understand it. I remember the general manager came in once and he's like, okay, I've watched your show and I don't have an opinion on it. And then he leaves. And what do you even say to that? I watched your show and I don't have an opinion. It's like, okay, well, I'm glad you couldn't decide whether you liked it or not.
Well, and that reminds me of the story with the pilot when you took it in, gave it to him to show it to him as a proof of concept.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what'd you think of it? Oh, well, make another one for next week. We aired it.
Exactly.
You weren't supposed to air that.
Exactly. So, yeah, that was one of those. That's why I didn't want the pilot to be seen.
Yeah.
It was never meant to be aired. But we have, Aaron again has since restored that.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, they were confused by it. They were getting mail, they were getting phone calls, which I didn't know until I asked. When CinemaInsomnia.com first was up and we started getting emails, I'm like, we got an email. And they're like, oh, well, we get emails and calls all the time about the show. I'm like, what?
Well, and then
Why didn't
isn't
you
there
tell
a
me?
story where like you didn't realize you had a letter there from Bob Wilkins
that was the
you didn't
part
know
of the,
about?
that was part of the same story. It was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, we get letters for it. I'm like, well, how do I see these letters? Well, first they said, well, they weren't addressed to you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how do I see letters regarding the show? It's like, well, you need to go to the front desk. I make jokes about the front desk. You need to go to the front desk and ask Babs. No, it wasn't Babs. But ask the secretary at the front desk what weeks you think you might have gotten letters. Then you have to go to the filing cabinet and pull out the file of letters from that week, which was like a foot thick. And then go through that file for that week of the letters that were gotten. And if anyone were mentioned you or addressed to you, you could photocopy them. They had a photocopier. And then you'd have to put the letter back. So I went down there and I picked some weeks at random. And again, this person's impatiently pulling these files for you.
Yeah.
It's like you can only do so much before you just feel like a jerk. I didn't want to sit there all day going through the filing cabinet. So I picked a few weeks at random, and I went through there, and there was a letter from Bob Wilkins. Now, those of you who don't know, Bob Wilkins was my horror movie host as a kid. Creature Features was a legendary show in Northern California. There was also the Bob Wilkins Horror Show, which was in Sacramento. Yeah. And Bob had two really big shows concurrently during the 70s and 80s. And so I was very surprised to see a letter from Bob in there congratulating them on airing the show and telling them to keep me on the air at any cost, that, finally a show for us night people. And it was on the Bob Wilkins letterhead and everything. And again, it's like Bob was trying to give me a boost, and it was my hero doing this. So it meant everything to me that he would endorse my show like that. And I'm sure he wanted me to see it too.
Yeah.
So I took it over to the photocopier, and then I made a photocopy of it, and then I did the Texas switch and kept the original and put the photocopy back in that foot-thick file from that week. But there were a couple.
3 days later, I was fired.
Yeah, that was the end of the show. But it was not too long after that, honestly, because we were on hiatus, and they didn't know what to do with the show. They kept talking about putting us on a better time slot, because we were on at 3:05 a.m., which is the worst time to have a show, because any later would be a morning show.
Yeah.
3 o'clock is that time where you decide whether you're going to stay up all night or go the F to bed.
Yeah.
That is that moment.
That is the infomercial time slot.
3:05 is after you've made that decision of whether you're going to bed or staying up all night. So the fact that we were on at 3:05 was such a handicap, and we did so well in that time slot that they said, okay, well, we're going to assign a producer, and we're going to move you to a better time slot. And nothing ever happened. Yep. We were just gridlocked. And I begged off of the show. After about 4 months of being on hiatus, I'm like, I've got fans locally. I'm enjoying myself. We're making this show. I want to keep making it. All those hoops I jumped through to get the show, can I jump backwards and just make the show myself? Because at that time, the prosumer cameras and stuff were comparable, where you could shoot something that was broadcastable. That was not a thing where you could just shoot something on a camcorder and it would be broadcastable. And that that time period, it was just getting to that point. And they're like, well, you can do whatever you want, but if you put it on a competing station, you lose your job. And you can't use the shows that you made here. Not that they knew anyway, but we couldn't use their prints of the movies.
Yeah.
And so I went, okay. And then I went to public access, and they had a special meeting of their board of directors for it. And they decided, since I was making the show myself, that I wasn't really using their resources, but because it was somewhat valuable to the community, that they would allow it to air after they go off the air. So actually, public access went off at midnight, and then they aired my show, at 12:01 or whatever. And my show was the last thing they showed on public access before they went off the air.
So it was still a better time slot than the one you had.
Yeah. But and the other thing is most of the shows on public access were an hour long.
Yeah.
Like they didn't really give people a 2-hour slot on public access. So I kind of had an extra. They kind of gave me 2 breaks, is that I had a consistent time slot, and they let me go for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Usually they jumbled everyone's time slots.
Yeah.
And they only let you do hour-long shows.
Yeah.
So the fact that they made that exception for my show, I thought was really great. And when they tried to defund public access, I actually went and testified at the courthouse to try to help save public access, because it did keep my show going while I was in that in-between period of KXTV and syndication.
I think a lot of that stuff's happening again right now, of public access channels being shut down and stuff like that. Now, like just today, they announced that NPR is completely shutting down.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
that's so awful.
Yeah.
There's NPR and PBS got defunded.
Yeah.
That's awful. So at that time, we were doing a lot of live events with the Trash Film Orgy. And this is where it would probably connect with you.
Yeah.
You knew all of those folks.
Yeah.
The Queen of Trash, who later became a character on the show, came from the Trash Film Orgy. That's why she's the Queen of Trash, is because she was given that title during the show.
That was like
the film
a pageant
festival.
or competition.
It was a pageant, but she nailed it so hard that they couldn't give that award to anybody else.
Yeah.
They had to change it to Miss Trash or something else, because Queen of Trash became synonymous with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you knew her, but you didn't know you knew her.
Yeah, it's like, I think it was kind of, well, I had met her and become friends with her. I don't think I knew her name. And this was very early on, I think, of her being with Trash Film Orgy. And so, like, by the time she was Queen of Trash on Cinema Insomnia, I didn't realize it was the same girl until years later when we did a couple live shows and brought her back in. And like you and Dixie had mentioned having me talk to her because I knew her, and I was like, I don't know her. I've never met her. And she played along when she realized that I didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
And then it was like 6 months later that she just like broke out a photo album with a picture of her and I when I was probably like 20. Just,
Wow.
Yeah, sitting on the curb at the Dollar movie theater.
Yes, Birdcage Walk, right?
Yeah.
Dollar movies. Wow.
Yeah. And I was just like, holy shit, you're that girl?
Wow.
And then I felt like I had my foot in my mouth.
Did they do Rocky at that?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Rocky Horror.
Yeah, I think our friend Scott did Rocky Horror there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because that was another, like a mutual friend that we had that I think he was shooting the show at one point for a little bit.
For a little bit, yeah. He was helping, and he was mainly helping with Spade.
Yeah.
Which was something that the crew of Plan 9 was doing when they were waiting for their funds to come through.
Okay.
So it was kind of a choose-your-own-adventure web series, and I was the host of it.
Yeah, and then I know, like, through Scott, I think we were both at SuperCon. I can't remember if that was San Jose or something like that. But I was there with the cast of another show that we had mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And then you and Sarah were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess she had lurked the whole time wanting to wanting to meet the cast of the show that I was there with.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can say who they were or not.
I think you probably could.
So I was there with the cast of Mystery Science Theater 3000. I was handling their money and running their table for them. So I'm friends with a few of them. And our friend Scott had put on a convention based around that show before.
Yeah.
And then you guys were at a table nearby, and then
We were
Richard
at a
Keel
table,
was there.
and we were there with Bob Wilkins and the Creature Features folks.
I
So-
didn't even realize Bob was there.
I think Bob was. I
Yeah.
think Bob and John. I could
Okay.
be wrong.
I think I remember John being there.
Maybe Bob wasn't there. We had done the Bob Wilkins movie,
Okay.
but I know John was there. John Wilkes
Booth.
No, John Wilkes Booth.
was definitely not there.
That was not there. No. John Stanley was the second host of Creature Features after Bob Wilkins, and a recurring character on Cinema Insomnia.
Yeah.
Bob Wilkins also appeared on Cinema Insomnia.
Yeah. And so it was funny because, like, at that point, we were doing a convention with tables near each other and still had not at that point really met.
No. It's funny, too, because I was so nervous about meeting the MST guys. Like, because at that point I was in syndication at that point, and I think I had been on KTEH, which is the PBS station in Northern California, San Jose, Oakland, San Francisco. But I was thinking, oh God, Joel and those guys. Everywhere they go, I'm sure someone walks up to them and goes, "Yeah, we show movies too, and we're funny."
Well, and then I remember that Josh Weinstein started lying to people at the con and told them that I was the original voice of Gypsy from Public Access. And so then he told me a bunch of stories that they were under NDA, they weren't allowed to talk about, to do with Jim Mallon. And then he would have me rant about Jim Mallon and how much I hate him. And it's all the stories that's actually theirs they're not allowed to tell.
Wow.
And then they had me signing everybody's posters and stuff.
That's
and
hilarious.
I was just signing, I wasn't in this. And they thought it was because the story was I quit when they stopped doing the KTMA stuff. But the reality was I was 8 when they made the KTMA stuff.
And you probably were at that table at that show.
Yeah.
That's funny to think that I was probably talking to Joel and you were probably signing somebody's poster 4 feet over.
Yeah, because, we were all in a row, and Josh Weinstein went and made a nameplate for me and stuck it in front of me. Yeah. And just had me stop standing taking people's money, and it's just like, let's see how long we get away with this. And nobody ever...
That's hilarious.
But it was funny that people would go down the line and like look at each person with recognition and get to me and do like this kind of pause double take.
Yeah.
They would usually do it at Josh because he was only in the KTMA stuff.
Yeah.
And then at me, they're just like really like, what the hell is that?
And Aaron, I guess, is obvious to say, you've helped with a lot of conventions and things.
Yeah.
You've also worked with a lot of filmmakers and producers, usually in fixing up destroyed shows.
Yeah.
So you kind of had a reputation of being able as the guy who could fix it if nobody else could.
Yeah, like the Winston Wolfe of indie film.
Yeah, I've got a headless
PA's
body
head's
in the
been
car.
blown off in the back seat. And we're going to need to take a break pretty soon.
We will need to take a break soon, but we would be needing Aaron's services because there would be a headless body pretty soon. We were on KTEH and we got KTEH got bought by KQED.
Yeah.
And KQED ended up obliterating all of their overnight programming. Ken, who had been the director of the show not too long before that, had kind of jammed in some political stuff into an episode, which I don't like the show to be political.
Yeah.
And it kind of confused, especially since it was some right-leaning politics, a Bay Area PBS station, like read the room. You know? So, we took Michael Moore out of the southern, when it was playing in the southern states, we took out the interview with Michael Moore because we knew that probably wouldn't be appreciated.
Yeah.
It certainly wouldn't be appreciated in San Francisco Bay Area, some right-leaning politics.
Make the Bay great again.
Yeah, so anyhow, he put that in a 4th of July episode, and I said, they're confused by this. I'm confused by this. You didn't tell me you were putting this in my show. And I said, if you could just re-edit it. And he literally walked on that. We had such a close association. So we didn't have we were without a director. We were without an editor. We were without a station at that point. We were syndicated. We had a lot of stray stations showing the show still, but our means of production was somewhat limited, and I guess that's probably a good place to stop.
Yeah.
And we'll be back with more of Sleepless Nights of Insomnia, 24th anniversary of Cinema Insomnia.
Hurry, hurry, hurry. Join us live in the stripy tent of Twitch, Twitch, Twitch. Every Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. Tune in early for our lead-in pre-show. See the amazing Wolf Boy and other sideshow freaks from your favorite misunderstood movies. See the mysterious and clinically depressed Harbinger.
He died!
See the pantsless bearded clam.
I do have a name.
Join your ringmaster of ceremonies, Mr. Lobo himself.
Why do you get to use your real name?
Clam up, Beardo, and get back on your stool. And a revolving door of special guests to help present an episode of Cinema Insomnia in a way you've never seen before. It's strange. It's bizarre. It's obtuse. It'll change your life. It's Cinema Insomnia on Twitch. CinemaInsomnia.com/Twitch.
Hey, can somebody check on Aaron?
So we had gone all the way from being a local ABC affiliate to being on public access to being syndicated, and I guess by syndicated we were picked up by AMG TV, which was a company that put the show up on a satellite, and it was played all over the place. Our 2006 episode with the Halloween special with Frankenstein versus the Creature from Blood Cove had a footprint of 45 million homes. So, at that point, the show was seen in a lot of places, was still being seen in a lot of places, even though we didn't have our anchor station anymore.
Yeah.
We didn't have KTEH at that point. And I feel bad that I kind of skipped over KTEH, but I feel like we could almost do a whole episode about the KTEH era. But basically, Bob Wilkins, I remember talking to Bob, and he was really pleased that we were on, in his area, because that was his old turf. So we had a lot of fans in Northern California, but we also had fans across the country. We had no station, and we had a local college station who had offered to let us use their studio in exchange for us kind of teaching their students about making television. So we figured we'd get some free help.
Yeah.
We would get a place to film the show. But it was a mixed blessing.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of amateurish.
You get what you pay for.
Yes. A lot of amateurish problems that sort of hurt the show. They kept pushing us to do things like green screen and stuff, but then they didn't have anybody who could do those things. And I always like to keep the show somewhat simple and most of the stuff in camera. So we had a bunch of stuff that was extra complicated that was supposed to be like, a teaching hospital where we were going to be teaching students, but then there were no students to do this stuff.
Yeah. And really, some of it they were shooting at a resolution that didn't lend itself to the type of effects they wanted to do.
Yeah, that's true also. And there would be some things like they would accidentally leave the green screen on, and part of my tie would be disappearing.
Oh, yeah.
And then there would be radio frequencies coming in through the audio. There was a lot of bad problems with those episodes. And anyway, so Scott was helping us film bits for for Spade and some Cinema Insomnia stuff. And then Scott became unavailable.
Yeah.
And then did he recommend you?
No, he didn't actually. You guys, I think you were coming up on a deadline that you needed to get some episodes to your syndicated channels. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a bottleneck because you had a bunch of stuff that was shot by that school, but none of it, they couldn't edit it. They couldn't figure out how to do it. And it was beyond, I think you managed to get through Venus Flytrap on your own, and then you kind of hit a wall where you couldn't work with some of the footage. And so either you or Dixie had done a post on social media about, needing favors from the editing gods. And then a girl that I was seeing was in one of the episodes and realized her episode wasn't going to come out. And so then she came there, she told you guys that she's like, you need to talk to Aaron. And then she came to me and was like, I need you to go fix this. And so it was originally for that one episode I went to look at everything.
Was that War of the Planets?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was over at Larry's. I went to look at that. And once I looked at the footage, you kept apologizing the whole time and I think you had already heard enough from Scott and other people that you already knew that I was the guy that shows up when your PA's head's been blown off in the back seat. So it's like you kept apologizing for like how rough the footage was, and I was looking at it, I was like, no, it's gonna be a little bit of a pain, but I can salvage this. And so then you started feeling out, having me look at other stuff, and so I think it was Little Shop of Horrors, which had another friend of mine in it.
That was the one where I had strep throat.
Yeah, and you gave it to her, and then I was filming with her the next day, and she gave it to me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so she came to set and had 104-degree fever, and after we wrapped with her, she went home, and the next morning called me up apologizing that she never showed up to set. She didn't even remember filming with us.
Oh my God.
Because she was so delirious when she filmed. I was like, no, you were here. We did, and then she was like, "Oh, sorry, I have strep throat," and I'm like, "Oh, so that's why I feel like crap this morning."
Oh my God!
Like, and I remember she was kind of turning green.
And I think James, who is Dresdock, James Clarkson, and then his PA.
Yeah.
I think they both got sick too. I think everyone on that whole thing got sick, and it's weird because I didn't try to get too close to anybody.
Yeah.
But we were all in that one room together.
Yeah. But because I remember that one had the sound all messed up, and I was able to filter out the radio frequencies and stuff to save that one. And then there was the Undertaker and his pals, where you guys had the live footage that you weren't happy with, and then I think some in-studio stuff.
Yeah, that's when still I feel like could be redone.
We've talked about before just doing a new live show with Undertaker and his pals. Yeah. Because I really think rather than just like retweaking the footage, I think we should just do the whole thing over. Yeah. Because there's ideas of yours that didn't get used in the
Yeah, we never did anything with the chalkboard.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of chalkboard gags.
Yeah.
And then I think that it's just one of those things that was cursed. We did it live. We were supposed to be filming it live.
Yeah.
And then the person who was going to film it live demanded $4,000 the night before we were going to film.
Yeah.
We're like, well, we can't give you that. And then they disappeared. And then James actually came in and shot it. But, it was just too last minute. He didn't get good footage.
Yeah.
And then we did that stuff at the college TV station, and that stuff wasn't so great either. So it just was a bunch of not so great altogether.
Yeah.
But it's an episode, and a lot of people love it. So it's again.
So we patched together probably 5 or 6 episodes.
And then Little Shop, I had strep, and you put that one together. And then we did a few with Gary Hughes.
Yeah, Atomic Brain.
Who was kind of I would say a retro film enthusiast. He did a parody of an adventure serial called 30 Second Doom that I was in. Was that me?
Yes, that was you.
Oh, hello.
Mine's muted.
Always the professional, right? So we had some that were shot in black and white.
Yeah.
And I think this was kind of an attempt to try to, of course it never works, try to simplify the show.
Yeah.
I thought, well, if we did some episodes that are supposed to be live and supposed to be earlier in the show, then we could do some simpler episodes. And so we did Atomic Brain.
And then I'm remembering now on Atomic Brain, when I first put that together, realized that you had flubbed on one of the outs because it's supposed to be Insomniac Theater.
Oh, yeah.
And you said Cinema Insomnia will be right back. And so I was like, okay, well, how do we cut this off? And we were going back and forth about like just doing a bump out or something. And then I realized that you had, at some point you had mentioned that it was like 1963 in the episode.
Yeah.
And then I just remembered the Doctor Who pilot was interrupted by the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
And so I just cut into the episode with the Walter Cronkite report about the president being shot. But the first version of it ran for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I remember when we were watching it in Larry's theater, we both started laughing so hard that we like fell out of our chairs. But it was one of those things where it's just like, you can't ever come back from this.
No.
The show has to be over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because,
and
so you cut it down a lot.
I think I had joked that the episode never aired because of the Kennedy assassination. So
Yeah.
it ended up that you put the footage of it in the, which made an old lady cry.
Yes.
Which wasn't great for the show. And then also Dixie really pushed to have the severed dog head in the same episode.
And it was funny that when that came out, no objections to it. We re-air it nowadays, and people really freak out with the whole reanimated dog head footage.
And there were these Russian experiments where they had a headless dog that they were like experimenting with. It's apparently still alive.
Yeah.
It's a trick.
Yeah.
I don't think they're really keeping a dog's head alive.
Yeah.
I think it's all propaganda.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably was.
But the way it's filmed is so realistic
Yeah.
that it is kind of upsetting to watch. And so the combination of what's funny is because this is supposed to be like a earlier episode.
Yeah.
It's black and white. It's supposed to be like the 50s or the early 60s, and it is like one of the roughest episodes for people to watch when it was supposed to be an easier watch.
Well, and then I remember like when we shortened the Kennedy assassination stuff, I did a bump out, and it's like the motorcade. And you're like, you can't brand the Kennedy motorcade with my logo.
No, that wasn't going to work either.
I think that's still in it though.
Oh,
I think we left that.
So anyhow, so that was Atomic Brain, Little Shop of Horrors, War of the Planets, Undertaker and Spouse. Those were like the first ones you sort of cut your teeth on.
Yeah.
And Aaron has a good, like I said, has worked. I think, like I said, Aaron's skill set is working on other people's projects. So I feel like he got the vibe of the show and the sort of the stylistic affects of the show. And because usually, like with Ken or with other people, with Meryl and other people who've edited, I usually sit with them and go through kind of the stylistic affects of the show. But I think Aaron just watched a few of the episodes and kind of got the idea of how they usually go. I think I had a list of things some of the things that I felt needed extra explaining, like the little blips and things.
Oh yeah.
Because I really liked those little. It's like a 2-second transition.
Yeah.
And it just.
Yeah,
these
the little
weird
film leaders at the beginning
film,
are under reels.
Piece of a film leader. And it's really funny because people think that they're part of the thing that's being shown. And a lot of people who ripped off footage from the...
Accidentally leave the blips in.
Accidentally leave those blips in, yeah. Tonight Show did that.
Yeah. There's DVD releases of Bigfoot Mysterious Monster where they snipped out all your host segments but left blips in so you can tell.
I love when other horror hosts are like, "Oh yeah, we showed that movie too."
Yeah, I love that you never edit the movies, and it's like some episode that I have just really screwed with.
Yeah.
And then we start talking about that, and then you see them go white as a ghost, realizing
they
that
start sweating because they know that if I ever see their episode, it's going to be really obvious that they just took our copy of the movie.
Yeah.
And the thing to understand about Cinema Insomnia is when we started, like I said, not KXTV because they had their own movie library.
Yeah.
But when we were doing in the public access era and other eras, they were a lot of times our original film prints or prints that we
You guys were
borrowed.
like telescening film prints,
We were doing
right?
our own telecine where we were basically projecting.
No, was that Scott Moon that was doing that?
Scott Moon was some of those films.
Because I know there was one time. I think towards the end of you living in California, where he had me come over to Larry's and telescene stuff with my camera.
I mean, Scott did do some of it. I did some of it. So my technique is that I had the camera was the video camera was at a 45-degree angle to a white card.
Okay.
And then the projector was also to a 45-degree angle to a white card. So the keystoning canceled each other out.
Oh, okay.
So there'd be no keystoning. And I don't know if you understand what keystoning is. One side of you do, Aaron, but the audience.
That's right, you're not telling me that.
One side of the screen would be wider than the other
Yeah.
side. It would look cockeyed.
Yeah.
So if you have both things at an angle, then you're getting the screen. It looks like you're shooting it straight on.
Yeah.
And so you're projecting on one side, filming on the other, on a very and small on a white card, so that's very extra bright. The closer the projector is to the wall, the brighter the image. So we did a lot of our own transfers, and a lot of the stuff came from our own film prints. And even to this day, there'll be certain things where I'll say, "Oh, Aaron, go find that clip," or "Oh, whatever," and it's not online.
Yeah, that
Anyway.
Teenagers from Outer Space trailer. Never found that anywhere except your episode.
So there are some things that are on Cinema Insomnia that you just won't see anywhere else.
Oh, and then like Super Wheels, when we did the restoration on that, like I had to get prints from a couple of different countries that were in foreign languages and splice them together and then pull the audio from ours to even find that cut of the movie.
Wow.
Because not like the US, European, or Japanese ones, none of them seem to be exactly the same as the one that you guys showed.
That seems to happen a lot,
Yeah.
where our movie has a slightly different ending than another movie,
Yeah.
other versions, not besides the ones we jackass
Well,
and change. But
Yeah, like Bride of the Monster. I've never seen that ending anywhere else.
I don't know how that ever happened. But, oh God. Anyway, we're going out now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we could go on, and we will. We'll be back with more of the celebration, a celebration of specialness, Cinema Insomnia. It now in our 25th year. Somewhere in space, this may be happening right now. 20th Century Pants and Alan Smithy, the man who brought you popcorn during American Graffiti, now bring you an adventure not like anything on your planet. Uber fans, the story of a boy, a girl, and a universe, and a man in a dog costume or something. It's a big sprawling space saga of rebellion and romance and goblins, starring Michael Housel as Luke Starkiller, Anita Gale as Princess Peach, John McCallum as Emperor Prawns, David William Ramey as PC-30, Wendy Sows as Bounty Hunter Number 2, and Brock Peters as Dark Vadar, plus these superfans from behind the Deflector Shield. Join the Alliance at cinemainsomnia.com/podcast. Podcast with 2 Ds for 2DD2. We'll see you members in Segment 5. This show is a billion years in the making, but it's coming to your galaxy right now. Aaron said a celebration of special mess, which I think is often the case. So Aaron did work on the show, and then I think there was a period when we were picked up by Zombie, because they wanted to edit the shows and stuff. You weren't doing the editing, and you were back east, so you weren't shooting either.
Yeah.
But what was funny about that is that when Zombie went poof, because Zombie TV was first.
Well, and then I know you were getting, because you talked to me while you were out there, and you had started to get frustrated that they were getting backed up with not getting episodes edited, but they didn't want to pay an editor.
Yeah.
Because you tried to bring me in, but they didn't go for it because they didn't want to pay me.
Yeah. I try to do a lot of things with those folks.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of things that were great. I mean, we got to shoot. I thought the quality of what we were shooting looked good.
Oh yeah, it did look really good.
And we did finish some episodes.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff was kind of exciting because we did Maxwell Stein there, which we used all of the original props and actors from the movie.
And Hard Day's Nightmares kind of
Hard Day's Nightmares like that too, where we had the actors from the movie in the episode. So those were kind of some exciting events. But we had a bunch of episodes back.
Haunted House special was with them too.
Yeah, Haunted House, and they edited that initially. Yeah. Haunted House special was with them as well, and that was a big deal as well. So a lot of very again, they did have a budget. They did take care of us as best they could. We did do live events with them, and they were a streaming channel. This was an early Roku channel. They wanted to be firstest with the mostest for a horror channel on Roku. And they wanted when they hired me, they wanted to pick my brain, they wanted my expertise, they wanted my audience, they wanted my catalog of shows, but they also wanted me to produce things for them. I did 40 commercials for them, including materials, toys for Godzilla and stuff like that. And then we did also, I produced other shows with them and other hosts with them. That's where I met Valora.
Is that where you met John Dimes, or did you already know him?
I think that might have been the first time I met John Dimes.
Yeah.
Was bringing him, they brought him in because he was local, and
you better watch it, right?
Yeah, you better watch it. And I love John.
Yeah,
and
yeah, John's great.
So we hit it off really great, and then I had him in the special, which I thought he was excellent in. He sort of steals it. Yeah, I think it's funny too when people go, "Oh, John stole the haunted house special." It's like, yeah, but I wrote that character. It's not. There was no surprises there. It's like I knew he would steal it, and I was happy that he did because he did great. He knocked it out of the park. But yeah, John Dimes played Professor X Exorcist. In the Haunted House special, Cinema's Haunted House special. And I think the Haunted House special really gave an indication that we could do a movie if we wanted to. Yeah. I mean, we do want to, but it just, it's hard to do when you don't have a real budget to do a whole feature. So we had our time at Zombie TV, and then they had sold to another company that was making their own channel. And basically it was kind of that situation where they kind of bought out that channel and
stripped it for parts.
Pretty much. There was never any, they didn't really, Zombie TV was just over. Yeah. Once they had done their deal. And I don't know much about their deal, so I apologize if I don't understand the financial aspects of it. There just was a point where Zombie TV was they had made some deal with someone else. Zombie TV was over, and I just remember them going. We arrived at the studio. This is in Manassas, Virginia. We were based in the East Coast at that point. We arrived in Virginia, and we're like seeing that they're packing everything up. They're like, "You want to keep your chair?" I'm like, "Of course I want to keep my chair. That's my chair." And they're like, and it's like,
sorry, we sold it.
Yeah. And I remember too when it's like even with Abacus, like they had built Abacus for the show that I did there, and I said, "Well, I want to take Abacus." And they're like, "Well, if you end up not using it, I want it back." It's like, what? So it's like, of course I'm going to use it. I wouldn't take it if I wasn't going to use it. So anyhow, we packed up our car and we're driving home, and I'm like, God, I mean, I designed the logo. Dixie and I did all the livery and branding for the channel. I had opened up my address book of all my filmmaker friends who submitted content for their channel. I had done all this promotion for them. I had done all this work for them. And I thought, what if we did that work for ourselves? Yeah. And on that drive home back to Pennsylvania from Manassas, Virginia, I conceived of OSI 74, which was a kind of like it's like, why does it have to be horror, just horror stuff, Why can't it be all the weird stuff? Yeah. All the weird, funny, and retro stuff.
UHF channel from another dimension.
Exactly.
I think that's what you pitched it as.
Absolutely. UHF channel from another dimension. And so then I felt like it was an open door to re-invite all of the people I kind of severed myself with. Yeah. Because I kind of like put all my eggs in that Zombie TV basket. Yeah. I thought we were on the ground floor of something, and we were all building it together. And then at a certain point, it's like they're gone, and it's just Dixie and I. And we had done a couple of episodes by ourselves, the VHS Halloween.
And the after Christmas.
New Year's. But with just Dixie and I, it just wasn't enough. And so I had called upon you to come back in. Yeah. And then you were traveling to Pennsylvania a couple times a year, right?
Well, initially, the first year of OSI, I was doing it all remotely. Uh-huh. And so it was like I was editing stuff at the theater I was working at in California, and just you would send me the raw footage. I would download it. I would edit the episodes and send it back to you, and then we kind of go back and forth. And then you guys got backed up with being able to shoot anything new, because I think you guys had a bunch of wraps of stuff you shot at Zombie that hadn't been edited yet.
Yeah.
And then once we ran out of that, I think you guys tried to film a couple more by yourselves, but the house, like, the space was kind of too tight, and then the camera that you guys were using, you didn't really have enough light and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so the second season of Cinema Insomnia for OSI had like one zombie episode that hadn't been edited that I went and put back together, and one old one that we hadn't done yet.
Yeah.
And everything else was remastered, or like restorations of old ones, and it was like 20 old episodes. And you just hated that there was nothing new coming out.
Yeah.
And so that was when, for the third year of OSI, was the first time that you guys flew me out.
Yeah.
And so that's when we did like the Bloodsuckers, The Atomic Swamp, and American Werewolf in the Philippines. So it was like you, me, and Paul did those.
Yeah.
And then Creepers, I think.
Yeah.
And then we got emboldened, and it started being like every couple months I was coming out and we were shooting like two or three of them.
Yeah, and it was nice when we had both you and Paul.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's so hard to get all pistons firing at the same time. It always feels like, you know, we have Paul for a while and we have you for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did the trauma tour with Paul.
Yeah.
And the Red House episode with Paul.
Yeah. Well, and that one I was still working on it remotely.
Yeah.
Because I did the edit on it.
Yeah.
You guys shot it, and then I edited that.
Right, because you put the movie into it.
And then, like, initially at the start of OSI, I was also helping Sleazy get started on his stuff, because he just went and bought all the equipment he read that you would need to shoot a TV show, but didn't know how to set any of it up or anything.
We had the light behind the green screen,
Yeah.
which I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense.
And so then he had me just like Skyping in and telling him where to move stuff and things like that. So it's funny, the first time we went to his house, I think was when we did that Retrocon thing, and then he like turns to me, he's like, well, you've been here before, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, I've just been on the TV screen. I've never actually physically been here.
And I guess we should explain Sleazy real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Sleazy is, there's a popular band called Gwar, in which Sleazy is one of the founding members of.
Yeah, and he's Dean Slithers in
American Werewolf in the Philippines.
Yeah.
That's a Cinema Insomnia episode.
Yeah.
But Don Draculich, or Sleazy, he plays the manager of the band Gwar in their universe. For these, they're what, space Vikings from Antarctica?
Sounds about right.
On drugs?
Yeah.
So anyhow, that's kind of what they are. And Sleazy has a giant pompadour and a suit made out of purple speedboat vinyl, speedboat upholstery.
And they're dressed up like monsters playing heavy metal.
Yeah, he's got big chains around his neck. Anyhow, so Sleazy was a big horror host fan, and he wanted to do a movie hosted show. And so he premiered his show on OSI as well. So anyhow, so we bring it back to Cinema Insomnia.
Yeah.
We have a new network, and it was nice because we exchanged so many hands.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention UATV, which was a satellite channel we were on for a while, and we had been in all these different formats.
You didn't have to worry about a channel changing anymore, or changing format, or dropping you, since it's your channel.
Right. So that's the one nice thing about this most current era is, even now with, we've got the WON and the Buffalo channel, and we're still syndicated somewhat, and the PEG stations that carry it. And all those little points of light going on and off, at least OSI has been consistent throughout all of that. Anybody who really wants to find those episodes can go to OSI. Even when YouTube fails us, they can go to OSI.
Yeah.
And Aaron has been very instrumental in keeping those episodes up on OSI.
Yeah, since basically the start of the pandemic, I've been kind of running OSI under the hood. Other than the coding, Mike Cadaver does a lot of that.
Yeah. So it's nice that we have, all of the available episodes in one spot that can be watched on demand. We have a 24/7 stream. So there's hundreds of thousands of people that watch on OSI.
Yeah.
So that's been a really big, interesting aspect. Another really interesting aspect, I would say, in the more recent years is the streaming.
The
too.
Twitch stream, yeah.
Aaron is usually here filming with his camera, and it goes out from his camera on Saturday nights.
Yeah.
And then the Monday and Wednesday I do usually from the desk. What's been exciting about this era of Cinema Insomnia is I kind of feel like there's been sort of a synergy where we're so much more connected with the fans than we've ever been. You know, a lot of times the participation in the show, like, you know, doing the oath or, you know, making the snack, it's like all that stuff was somewhat vicarious. And now it seems like it's all you can see everybody enjoying it in real time when we're streaming the episodes.
Well, and then now we're doing some audience participation stuff like the time machine where you get out of it on a green screen and we put the footage up and then people were able to green screen their own stuff and send it into us. And then
and then the cat episode where we had all of these
their cat videos.
People sending in their cat videos.
The kid episode, we had like kids send in their videos.
So I guess that's the one thing that's kind of exciting now is that the audience participation that was always somewhat vicarious is now kind of really there, you know. It is a fan-powered project now, you know, and with all of our fundraising and the stuff that we've been doing, like GoFundMe and Patreon, it's like the fans are our bosses now too.
Yeah.
So it went from having all these various stations and the fans just sort of being there to really the fans are the ones that are keeping the show going. The fans are the people that are most invested in its success. And that's been very gratifying to where we have people who are sponsoring episodes. Like we had, of course, a cat sponsoring episode, which was Mighty Huey.
The Mighty Huey.
And we even
went out and filmed with him in California.
Yes, yeah, we sure did. And then we've got a corgi now that's going to be in this episode.
And then
upcoming episode.
And then Sleepless Night, Lobo Cub #1 is sponsoring an episode.
Yes, that's right. And then Black and White Projects Gallery.
They did Zombies of Sugar Hill already, and I think they're doing another one.
And they're doing another one. So that's very, very, very exciting and has us really pumped for the future. Although you can't tell when Aaron's pumped or not.
I remember like a woman I used to work with always said you could hand him a briefcase with $1 million in it or shoot him in the knee with a shotgun and you're going to get the exact same reaction. And neither one's appropriate.
Oh, great. Now what? But Aaron, I have to say, I appreciate our association. I think we've been able to have, you know, as much fun as allowed, as much fun as legally allowed. Yeah. And I think that we've done a lot of impossible things. I feel like we've done 1,000 impossible things with this show. Yeah. And hopefully there'll be many, many more across the next 25 years. And I guess when we'll say goodbye for now, I guess, and we'll have some I guess hints about where we're going into the future. In segment 5. See you in segment 5. All systems go.
You have been listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast, or should we say, pODDcast. pODDcast. Emphasis on the odd. Our theme is by Mars Homeworld at Deadhouse Music. Our opening announcement is by Ophelia Necro. She does a radio show called Suicide Watch. Patreon supporters get to hear this podcast before anyone else and a lot of other great stuff, right, Paul?
Sure.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at
patreon.com/Sleepless Knights podcast.
Please stay up with us next week for another Sleepless Knights podcast. Or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
The best thing about being an insomniac is never having to say goodnight.
Good night.